This video is brought to you by Yoga for Deployment. Get top 10 tips for surviving deployment at yogatraveler.net/deployment yoga. Hi, I would love to tell you my yoga story today because if anything that I say could affect you, I would love that. Yoga has changed my life, and maybe you could benefit from something that I learned along the way. I have always been a ballet teacher. Originally, I did ballet all throughout my whole life, basically, and all throughout college. And after I had my first and second child, I taught ballet. And it was a great physical outlet for me. And I love teaching other people. And mostly I was teaching children, but I did teach some adults as well. I feel like I have a skill that I can teach people and how to be physical with their bodies and how to move their bodies. It comes pretty natural to me. But I didn't do a background in teaching. Through school, I did psychology. I had no credentials or any training beyond what my own personal experience had been. So I knew that teaching ballet wasn't going to be a career or anything. It was just kind of a side fun thing that I did for release. And when I got pregnant with my third child, I was doing a lot of really intense cardio classes. I did some Zumba, which I love because it was my dancing experience and just fun for dancing. But then I was also doing some really heavy kickboxing classes and kind of like a HIIT class. It wasn't called HIIT then in 2012 or whatever that was. But basically that's what it was. No, it was before that. Anyway, I think my daughter was born in 2011. So this must have been 2010. It doesn't matter. I was doing these classes and they were intense and I did them all the way up until I was 39 weeks pregnant. And I would turn bright red in the face and my instructor would say, "You need to leave. This is too much for you." But I kind of did it because I felt like I had to. I felt like I gotten to the point, I was having my third kid. I wasn't 20 anymore. I was needing physical, and it was just something I had to do. So I was kind of forcing myself to do these classes. I didn't really love them. They just worked into my time schedule of my day. I did them early in the morning before my kids woke up, before my husband went to work. Anyway, but then I had my third child and I stopped everything. I stopped. I just basically felt like I had to live for my kids now. And there was no time for me because I could hardly keep up with 3 kids. There's 2 parents and now 3 kids. So we were outnumbered. And I went into huge depression. I have always struggled with postpartum depression. And I definitely felt it during after my third child. And I love my kids, don't get me wrong, but it's really hard for me to have them. It's hard for me to deal once they're here. I was angry all the time. I stopped I wasn't teaching ballet. I wasn't doing any of my cardio classes that I had been doing. I just stopped it all. And about 10 months after having my daughter, my husband said, "You've got to do something here. You're not going to survive this." And I probably wasn't very fun to live with, honestly. So the studio that I had it was a gym. The gym that I had been going to for the cardio classes, they had a yoga class at 8:30 at night. I could feed my baby. I could go to the class. My husband was home. The other 2 kids were in bed, and I could go sort of guilt-free because I had a lot of guilt leaving the kids. I just really felt like anything for me was unnecessary and I couldn't do it. So I went to this class and I was bound and determined not to like it. My attitude was poor. I thought yoga was just sitting on the floor in a lotus position for like an hour and stretching, which is so weird because ballet is a lot about stretching. So I don't know why I was so averse to yoga, but I was. And I didn't even have a mat. I refused to use one. I just did it on the bare gym floor. So let's not talk about how gross that was. Yoga on the bare gym floor. but the class changed me. I think it was good that the yoga teacher taught a vinyasa style. So it was a flowing, moving style. Of course, we held some poses and we stretched, but it was movement, and I felt graceful, and I sort of felt in touch with my ballet roots, and I stopped and I actually felt like I was breathing for the first time in probably a year and a half. I felt like I could get some breath, and it didn't feel like torture. The cardio classes I was taking before, they felt like torture to me. And I went out of the yoga class totally changed. And I said to my husband, why have I not been doing this my whole life? And I became a regular at Sweaty Chicks in Springville, Utah, doing yoga at 8:30 at night. And I loved it. And it changed me. And in the meantime, so I was getting better mentally, and my husband was getting worse. He is a social worker, and he did work a lot of government jobs that the contract would go away, and so the job would go away. And we went through 10 years of some job insecurity. He probably changed jobs every 2 or 3 years, and sometimes it would mean that we would move, and there was some upheaval in our life that way. And the job that he was in at that time was going to file bankruptcy, and Josh was going down with the ship. And I had this idea that I needed to get my yoga teacher training certification. I wanted to still be a teacher in something that I loved. So I was going to shift from ballet and move into yoga because it had changed my life, and I would love to teach others how to change theirs. And it was expensive, and it would mean that we would need to have childcare and pay for that. And my husband's job was failing. It was going under. But, I have a really great husband. He's always really supportive of me, and I feel like we could do that together. He was also applying to the U.S. Air Force. And so he felt like if he were to get into the Air Force and I was to get yoga teacher training, that I could teach yoga anywhere that we moved. So we went for it. We felt like a ton of money for the training and for childcare. And I went to an Ashtanga teacher training. I was there 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. And then I would come home from teacher training, and I would train my neighbors in my house to get experience. I would not train them, I would teach them to get experience. And they were really patient with me, and I made lots of mistakes on them, and they helped me to grow as a yoga teacher. So I did yoga. That's all I thought about for a month and a half was yoga. And I loved it. It was wonderful. But my husband's job went away, and the money went away. Well, we didn't have to pay for childcare anymore because all of a sudden he was home. And we entered into a period of some job insecurity. Well, he was jobless. He was unemployed. And I did complete my teacher training, and I got a few yoga jobs, but I didn't get paid very much, and I certainly didn't have benefits. So it was stressful on us. It was really hard. We fought a little bit, probably more than we've ever fought in our marriage. He didn't feel like he was living up to his role as a provider, and it was hard. It was really hard. But then he got into the U.S. Air Force, and everything changed for him and for me as well, of course, because I'm in this too. But all of a sudden he was happy again, and he was excited, and we were really looking forward to this new journey that we were going to take. So that's going to be the next piece of my story. But I did want to say that I want to just give a little love to the universe, to my first group of yogis. When I first got out of my teacher training, I started teaching those same awesome women, and there was one man who would come and help me out during my training. We just did it in my home. We moved the furniture aside and rolled out our mats, and we did it early in the morning before all of our kids had to go to school, and we did yoga in my house, and it was called Studio 10 because I lived at 10 Brookside Drive. And I miss those yogis. They were like my core, my first little group, and my first little studio space. And I loved it because it was something that I owned. And that's going to become important later as we go throughout my story. It's always been important for me to own something and have a little bit of control over something. So we'll talk about that more later. But next time I tune in to continue on part 2, just to give you a little tantalizing details, is our journey into the Air Force and how I was able to teach yoga while in the Air Force. So I'll see you then. I'll talk to you later.